Hello and welcome to our Intro to Therapeutic Horticulture course information session. Thanks for being here today and for your interest in our course. Today we're going to talk about why this is important at this particular moment in time especially. We're going to define horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture. If you don't know what those are, you're not alone. Many people do not know about these therapeutic modalities. We're going to talk about the populations that can benefit, what a program could look like, and then we'll explore the 5 domains of wellness that horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture affect. And finally, we'll tell you a bit more about our Intro to Therapeutic Horticulture course. I want to start with a bit of a therapeutic horticulture check-in activity, and I want you to check in with yourself. So if you can look at these 6 plants, I want you to think about how you're feeling right now and which of these plants most represents how you are feeling at this moment. So this is something that you could do with your participants, with your clients. There's always a check-in at the beginning of a therapeutic horticulture or horticultural therapy session. I hope you're feeling like this new sprout that just wants to learn and take on new things in the new year. So who is Root in Nature and who am I? I'm Alexis Ashworth. I'm the CEO and founder of Root in Nature. Root in Nature strengthens human health by connecting people with plants and nature through therapeutic horticulture. And we also serve as a training hub and a professional growth platform for practitioners in the field. So we do therapeutic horticulture in Ottawa, in Canada. We also do virtual therapeutic horticulture, but our main priority and our main platform is training and supporting and enhancing the work of other practitioners who are doing therapeutic horticulture around the world, which hopefully you will be one. So why is this so important at this point in time? Our brains are still wired in our human history for this. We're wired to be outside, to be connected with nature, to hear the sound of the wind through the trees, to be surrounded by the color green. That is what makes us happy, what brings our brains and our bodies in alignment and in a sense of peace. But instead, our modern life looks more like this. We're sitting, and mine is no exception. We're sitting, we're looking at a laptop, we are over-caffeinated, we're indoors most of the time, and it is causing major health problems. We have a green deficiency in our society. And what happens when our brains don't get what we need? They get stressed, we feel anxious, we get depressed, we have fatigue and burnout. This can all lead to creative stagnation, which in human services work is not a good thing. You need to be able to think creatively about new activities, new things to be doing with your clients, ways to serve them. We need our brains to be active and firing on all cylinders and feeling healthy. So that is where we come in and where horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture can have huge impacts. So what are horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture? Horticultural therapy is the participation in horticultural activities facilitated by a registered horticultural therapist to achieve specific goals within an established treatment, rehabilitation, or vocational plan. Horticultural therapy is more formal, more clinical. There's more documentation. It's often done one-on-one. There are very few registered horticultural therapists in Canada and in the US. And this is why we're here, because we want to expand the field to have more practitioners integrating plants and nature and gardening into their therapeutic approach. And that's why we developed our training program. We have about currently 41 horticultural therapists registered in Canada and about 300 to 400 in the US. Therapeutic horticulture, on the other hand, is also connecting people with plants, nature, and gardening, using that as a modality, but it's often done in groups. It's less formal, there's less clinical documentation, and it can be facilitated by other professionals who have training in the use of horticulture as a therapeutic modality. And that's where our course comes in. Where can this be done? There are all kinds of settings where this can be done. Hospitals, schools. I would love to see therapeutic horticulture more integrated into the school system. We have a version of the Intro to Therapeutic Horticulture course coming out in January that is specific to working with children and youth. It can happen in community and senior centers, long-term care, retirement homes, prisons, and correctional facilities. It can happen just one-on-one in people's homes, rehabilitation centers, and mental health care facilities. What kind of populations do we work with? Well, really anyone can benefit from horticultural therapy, but some of the primary populations we work with are seniors in long-term care and assisted living, people with Alzheimer's and other dementias, people experiencing stress, overwhelm, and anxiety, which is just about everybody in our modern society, partly for the reasons that we mentioned, people in rehabilitation and hospice care, in the justice system, youth, and schools. And one population that I'll highlight is veterans. These are a couple of veterans in the photo here. The person on the left in the apron is Kristen Topping, who is a horticultural therapist on our team, working at the Women Warriors Healing Garden. Horticultural therapy, I won't go into the history, but really formalized as a therapeutic modality after World War II with veterans who were returning. And it's a really powerful tool. We'll talk a bit more in depth in the population specific section, but it can be a really powerful modality with the veteran population. Let's look at what it looks like in practice. So we do year-round one-on-one or group programming for up to 8 participants per practitioner. You could have a larger group with more than one practitioner. We engage participants with nature actively or passively, verbally or non-verbally, indoors or outdoors. This does take place year-round. So horticultural therapy is not just something you do when you can get out in the garden. In fact, it's sometimes more important when people are disconnected from nature during the winter months. We use non-toxic plants and materials. It's very important to know the plants that you're working with and to research the plants that you're working with. Plants that are easy to grow, produce a lot of sensory stimulation, are ideal. We maintain outdoor gardens. Now, the primary goal of horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture is not to maintain a beautiful garden. So while this can sometimes be a nice benefit that you've got herb gardens or sensory gardens growing, it is not the job of the horticultural therapist or the therapeutic horticulture group to keep the gardens looking beautiful. They also can enhance the indoor plant life for sure. And then you can get involved with activities and events, decorating for holidays and celebrations. So what are some of the kind of activities you might be wondering, what does this actually look like in practice? Indoor and outdoor gardening, of course. We do transplanting, repotting, we take cuttings, do forcing bulbs, planting bulbs, seed starting, plant IDing, making plant labels. In the fall and spring, the cleanup of the yard, maintenance of indoor plants, harvesting, and seed saving. So this is all part of a seed to harvest program, which is kind of the bread and butter and a really kind of miraculous process that you can take people through. And especially youth on the spectrum, youth with autism, can feel a real sense of power and control when they're planting a tiny seed and it grows, and then you can nurture that plant and eventually eat from and harvest that plant. Even every year I do it, and every year I feel like it's a miracle. It's a really beautiful process. So taking kids or taking people who are suffering from depression or anxiety through that, focusing on something other than themselves and focusing on the plant that's growing that they're tending to is a really, really powerful process. Nature related and nature exploration. So it's not just about gardening. As I said, we work year round. We do scavenger hunts, bird watching, sensory garden walks, collecting nature materials for activities. I think we have a photo of a mandala, nature mandala coming up. So scavenging, things for that, and then making a nature mandala is really a beautiful session idea. Garden design, thinking about the garden to come, creating and reading nature poems, acrostics, sharing stories. Sensory work often sparks memories. So using a sensory tray and then just exchanging stories and thoughts can be really, really beautiful way to spend an afternoon therapeutic horticulture session. There's the mandala I was referring to. So we can do lots of types of botanical crafts, drying herbs, flowers, pressing leaves, creating mandalas, making vision boards around the new year. I love to make a good vision board. I like to do an old school, magazines on a Bristol board type, but we like to kind of foster positive future thoughts and gratitude. And flower arranging, of course, is fun. So let's look at some population-specific examples of horticultural therapy in action. So for children with developmental disabilities, it can help improve social and communication skills, as well as gross and fine motor skills. And some activities might include planting and harvesting vegetables, creating garden art with natural materials, and sensory exploration through touching and smelling plant, like rubbing a lamb's ear or smelling mint. For adults with depression, I'll take you through a bit of a potential activity plan or session planning. It can be beneficial for people with depression and anxiety. Activities might include growing and caring for plants to encourage feelings of responsibility and accomplishment, as we talked about, as well as mindfulness exercises that focus on being in the present moment and practicing self-care. For this population, we find that activities that focus on continuity can be very beneficial. So for example, this could be a possible 6-week therapeutic horticulture program with this population. So in week 1, we might amend the soil in the garden, sort through seeds, and play a root vegetable guessing game with photos of daikon radish, turnips, beets, and so on. In week 2, we might plant a variety of different radish seeds. There are so many different types. Watermelon radish, French breakfast, black Spanish radish. You could make fun labels for them with paint sticks, and it could be an opportunity to be kind of hands-on in the garden and be creative and talk about new beginnings. In week 3, we could check on the radish seedlings, water them, plant some companion plants that grow well with radishes like lettuce, spinach, and carrots. If you're not familiar with companion planting, it's a garden practice where different plant species are intentionally planted together for their mutual benefits. And so it involves selecting specific plants that have positive interactions with others and to enhance their growth, to deter pests, to improve soil fertility, or to provide shade and support. And this may sound cheesy, but this is a great opportunity for conversation about supporting one another and how as we grow, we can all support each other in different ways. In week 4, we might thin out the radish seeds and use it as a metaphor for a group discussion about letting go. In week 5, we would harvest the radishes and make a roasted radish soup and radish chips as a group and reflect on previous sessions and what the participants learned. So as you can see, each week kind of builds on the last and provides that continuity that can really provide a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. Let's look at therapeutic horticulture with seniors with dementia. So this can help seniors with dementia by improving cognitive functioning, reducing agitation and aggression, and promoting relaxation. Activities might include indoor gardening with houseplants, reminiscing about plants from their past, or sensory stimulation using fresh herbs and flowers. And never underestimate the power of bringing in a tray of sensory plants. This, as I mentioned before, can really spark a lot of stories and discussion with participants. And next, we'll talk about veterans with PTSD, as I mentioned earlier. Therapeutic horticulture can be beneficial for this population by promoting relaxation, reducing stress, helping manage symptoms like anger and anxiety, and providing an opportunity for physical activity and teamwork. Activities might include gardening for food to promote healthy eating habits, creating a peaceful garden space for relaxation, or sensory-rich activities like smelling herbs and flowers. And I mentioned already, this is Kristen Topping at the Women Warriors Healing Garden, which was such a beautiful space. And finally, therapeutic horticulture for addiction recovery. So it can be helpful by promoting mindfulness and reducing stress, providing a sense of accomplishment. Activities might include growing plants or vegetables, cultivating mindfulness through mindful gardening and meditation, and engaging in therapeutic art activities with plant materials. And these are just a few examples of ways that therapeutic horticulture can be used to promote health and well-being for a variety of populations. Another nice benefit for people with addictions is the vitamin D absorption. So often people are up late at night, maybe sleeping in, not getting outside much during the day. So gardening, getting outside in the sunshine can be really great for this population. Let's take a quick look at the domains of wellness that it affects before we go on to talk about our course. So horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture affect 5 domains of wellness. The first would be cognitive. So it provides intellectual and problem-solving stimulation, teaches new and satisfying horticultural skills. There's a lot to learn in horticulture, as you'll see in our course. Our Horticulture 101 module is the longest of all of the modules in the course. It stimulates memory, olfactory associations related to plants and flowers, arouses a sense of curiosity, and it increases communication and vocabulary. I mentioned in therapeutic horticulture, it's often group work, so it's really great to get people talking and get them outside. Physically, it engages both fine and gross motor movement to maintain and improve endurance and abilities. It enhances multisensory stimulation, and it supports cardiovascular health by reducing anxiety and stress, and again, boosts the absorption and retention of vitamin D. There is so many possible things that you can do in gardening that will enhance that fine and gross motor movement. Anyone who's a gardener knows that it's a really great exercise. You always feel tired when you're finished a gardening session, but there's also a lot of fine motor skills like picking and planting seeds or seed saving or using pruners, for example. Emotionally, it fosters a sense of purpose, confidence, and worth, provides a sense of pride and success with projects, improves self-esteem, and reduces depression. It also improves mood state and fosters emotional restoration, aids in the development of positive coping strategies, and provides opportunities for pleasure and relaxation. And socially, it strengthens social interactions and creates an empowering experience for people, reduces isolation by increasing social connections, promotes a sense of inclusion and belonging, and promotes positive interactions within a group setting. This happens to be a corporate group, but obviously there's all kinds of different social groups for therapeutic horticulture. And creatively and spiritually, this actually really benefited me. My background, I was CEO of Habitat for Humanity for a long period of time, and my personal passion was always plants and gardening. And I was exposed to horticultural therapy in the UK about 15 years ago. But when I started studying horticultural therapy, I found it woke up a dormant side of my brain, that had not been really active for a long time. And so these creative activities that you do in therapeutic horticulture really can spill over into many other aspects of your life when you start, getting those creative juices and those creative juices flowing. So you can see a great project here that a senior is doing, using beautiful flowers, but also being creative and choosing their placement. And then at the end, having a really lovely piece of art that they can walk away with. So one reason that it's important to not just dive into this type of work if you don't know what you're doing is that there can be risks in working with plants. The main 3 are toxicity, contact dermatitis, and allergens. Something as, you would think of as harmless as a daffodil can actually cause contact dermatitis or skin irritation and rashes. So it's really important to know what you're doing. And this is why we created a course that is accessible, we feel, in terms of time spent and in terms of cost. We really want this to be accessible to a wide audience so that we can get more people connecting with plants and nature. So let's talk about the course. This is an Intro to Therapeutic Horticulture course. I'll just share right off the bat that it is pre-approved for CE credits with NCTRC if you are a recreational therapist that is registered with NCTRC for 8 hours, and also approved for PCCs with Therapeutic Recreation Ontario. So what does the course involve? It is a virtual self-paced course, so you can take it at your own time. It is a series of videos by instructor Katie McGilvery, as well as 6 guest speakers. So it kind of breaks up the course a little bit to hear from different people on different topics. We also have mindful invitations that are sprinkled throughout. So moments to just check in with yourself and have these kind of mindful exercises that you can go back to anytime you like, or you can use with your clients. It teaches how to facilitate, adapt, and evaluate therapeutic horticulture sessions. It also provides foundational horticulture and safety training, which is so very important in this work. It provides also a great foundation for people who either want to just enhance their skill set, add a therapy option, or pursue a career in the field. If you're interested in potentially becoming a registered horticultural therapist, this is a really great starting point to get an introduction to the field and kind of a broad range of knowledge at an introductory level. The course is built in 6 modules. So the first is just a welcome, get to know your instructor. We have a beautiful guest speaker, Mariah Graham, who is a member of our team, a lovely Indigenous woman who talks about the importance of knowing the land where you're working and knowing also the native plants that are on that land, because we always want to work ideally with native plants that are meant to be grown in the area where you're working. Horticulture 101, I mentioned earlier, this is like the longest module, but it's interesting. We've got a couple of guest speakers in this Horticulture 101 module. You learn safety practices, foundational horticulture knowledge. You have a quiz at the end of every module. You can redo the quiz if you make mistakes, so don't stress about it. But it just kind of reinforces your learning to make sure you're grasping everything that you're viewing and reading. We then talk about introduction to therapeutic horticulture, so the definitions, the history, the domains of wellness, going a little more in depth than what I did today. And then we talk about the practice of therapeutic horticulture, so the planning process, year-round opportunities, types of safety, therapeutic garden design, and then impact measurement. We then talk about activity facilitation. So what are best practices? We talk about activity, environment, and the therapeutic use of self, kind of that therapeutic triangle, that each are really critical and important to effective therapeutic horticulture sessions. And we talk about the person-centered approach, which we definitely use in therapeutic horticulture. And to close, we talk about our growth community. And if you're interested in the growth community, I would encourage you to hop on over to the growth page on the website, and you can get the introductory intro session recording there as well. The growth community is really our platform to support you going forward in this work. So it includes a robust activity database that you can sort in a number of ways. Again, learn more in the other video. A resource library, connection opportunities. We now have members on every continent. So we've got a lot of people practicing this work who are engaged in the growth community. We have forums, and yeah, I'll stop there. I could talk for ages about the growth community because it's so exciting, but hop over to watch that video for more. So I'm happy to connect with you one-on-one. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. Here's my email address. Katie McGilvery is the instructor of the course. I am not. You're welcome to reach out to Katie as well. Her email is katie@rootnature.ca. Our website is rootnature.ca. You can learn a lot more there. And we hope you enjoy the course. Please feel free to reach out to me again now or after the course if you want to connect. We will have further learning in this space. If you go to the courses overview page, we are developing and advancing skills in therapeutic horticulture course that will launch in the new year. So you're welcome to, and that would be 2024. If you're watching this in 2024, we're at the end of 2023 now. Yeah, so that will come with a certification as well. So we hope to see you at a future event in the growth community, and thanks for joining our information session today.